Be like Berl. Be the good in the world. Be like Berl.
Hey everyone, welcome to our Be Like Berl podcast, where we interview teens and young adults about a tragedy, trial, or tribulation they dealt with as a child, and Jesus brought them through it by using folks in their lives who were being like Berl. Today's guest is here, but before I hand it over to Rachel, remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Rachel?
All right, everybody, welcome to today's podcast, and we have with us the lovely Ella Parnell, and I'm told that Ella Claire is what I've always called her, but that's a family name, so Ella Parnell today. She's here to share with us something that she has been walking through for a number of years now, and so just like we do with all the other guests, just tell us why you're here. What brought you on this podcast?
Actually, Christy had messaged me one day and told me that you guys wanted to know if I wanted to be on a segment of the Be Like Berl podcast, and I told her, well, yeah, that'd be great. And then she asked me if I wanted to speak on an anxiety disorder that I had, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want to bring some light to it.
Okay. So how many people know that you have this particular disorder?
A lot.
A lot of people.
I mean, I used to be really ashamed of it, but now it's just kind of like,
it's part of you.
It's a part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
And have you found it easier now that so many people know about it? Is it a little bit easier, or did it make it harder?
A little bit of both. Like it would make it easier because it was like a weight that was being let off my chest. But when people did find out about it, there was a lot of bullying involved, and it was.
But you were getting bullied before too, before the official. Okay.
Yeah.
So start off. Just tell us, what anxiety disorder do you have?
Trichotillomania.
Okay, so we're gonna we're gonna practice to say this right now.
Okay.
Trichotillomania.
Yeah.
Trichotillomania.
Okay.
Trichotillomania.
And so
When you see it on there, it's a very long word, and it's like, they can be
I know.
a
I
little bit.
told you, we were talking about it, and I said I want her to make sure and teach us how to say it, because I don't want to say it wrong, And it's like people, when they find out, oh well, you have what, and it's like, just ask them, how do you say that? What's it about?
Yeah.
So tell us, what is it?
Well, it's a mental health anxiety disorder. It's very similar to people that bite their fingernails or chew the skin on the inside of their lips, only mine is twirling and pulling my hair. I've done it since I was little. My mom noticed whenever I was little, like I would just twirl my hair and twirl my hair and twirl my hair. And it was just like an anxiety triggered thing. Like if I got nervous or got anxious or honestly was just bored.
Right.
Like whenever you get bored, sometimes you'll just get anxiety because you're alone. And I would just sit there and twirl away. And then as I got older, it started to get worse. And it got to a point where, like, people were really starting to notice it. My hair was super thin in some spots. Like, I had bald patches all over my head. And it finally got to a point where we were like, okay, we've got to do something, find something else to do.
So was it like when you were twirling your hair and stuff, like, did you realize you were doing it, or did it just kind of almost like become such a habit that you didn't even realize that you were doing it?
Most of the time I didn't even realize I was doing it until somebody would point out and be like, Ella, stop that.
Right.
How old were you when you first started getting noticeable?
I know I was really young when my mom first noticed it, but I think whenever I first realized that it was a problem, I was probably 12, somewhere around there, like middle school age, whenever I started. But that's whenever I started getting bullied a lot for it too. So I think that's whenever I noticed how bad it was getting.
So other kids were noticing it and picking at you about it without even you having to mention it or know that you had anything going on.
Was it them noticing you doing the twirling, or did they notice the spots in your hair?
They noticed the spots in my hair. So they would call me names like baldy, or like just go around saying like no hair, and just really mean, disgusting stuff.
Gotcha. And so did this diagnosis come from just like you went to a pediatrician or your doctor or whatever?
Well, my mom had actually, her and my dad had been trying to figure out what it was for years. Why does my kid do this? Why does she pull her hair out? Why does she twirl her hair all the time? And finally, my mom had come across it one day and found out that it was called trichotillomania, and it was an actual thing. And it doesn't just have to do with the hair on your head. People do it to their eyebrows, their eyelashes, their arm hair, literally anything. It's different for different people. And so I don't know.
So when you were in this age of this middle school age and these kids were picking on you, how did that impact your mental health even more? I mean, you already had this anxiety disorder, and so now you have people bullying you over it. Like, what was your mental, what were you like then?
It just gave me more anxiety. Like, I would have anxiety about going to school, and then obviously that would make it worse. So then I would start doing it more and more and more. And I wouldn't really say that it made me like depressed, but it just made me sad because I felt like, like these kids are picking on me, but they don't really know why they're picking on me. They just know that they're doing it, like they don't know what's actually going on behind the scenes. And so I wouldn't say that I was like depressed, but it definitely made me sad. It made me have a lot of anxiety about just waking up in the morning and going to school and facing all the people.
Right. And so it said you had put on here that you have pretty much had it your whole life, but official diagnosis maybe around 13 or so. Is that right? Now, you don't have to answer this, but I mean, what are like coping mechanisms? Like how does it treat it? How do you, like, you've got to be nervous right now. So how do you not? Because you're managing it really well right now.
Well, I'm pinching my arm really hard. That's actually not usually one. I wear a lot of bracelets. Or like my necklaces. Like I'll sit here and fondle with my necklace because I don't really do it publicly, and I don't do it nearly as bad anymore either, especially after I had gotten out of the hospital last year. So, like, I just wear a lot of jewelry or, like, wear, like, pants with holes in them where I can, like, pull on the strings in my pants and stuff like that. I have a few of, like, these, like, fidget cube things sometimes, and, like, I'll mess with those every now and then, but there's not really anything that you can do other than find something else to keep your hands busy.
So are these all things that you've just kind of figured out works for you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A lot of people cope differently. Like, not everybody needs something to mess with as much as they need, like, to just hold their hands together or something like that. But, like, mine is, I need to be fidgeting with something at all times. Like, I need to be using my hands to do something. So.
Okay. So super smart. I know you mentioned earlier that you wore a bunch of bracelets today, and that's so awesome that you figured that out and that works for you. And maybe somebody listening to this podcast will say, I never thought about wearing bracelets, or I never thought about wearing jeans that are cut so that I could pull on the strings, because it probably has that same texture-y type feel. So that's pretty genius as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny that you'd saw that, because I was sitting here as I was watching you talk. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, she's handling it. She's doing fantastic.
I'm like,
because you had told us, I asked you before, are you nervous? You was like, yes, but you're doing fantastic, by the way. So good job.
Yeah, good job. So at any point did you have to wear like a wig or baseball caps or anything like that to hide?
Yeah, I actually still wear wigs currently too.
Okay.
I started it out at hair extensions my 8th grade year. But it still would just get to a point like I would just pick around the extensions, And then I guess, I don't know, my freshman year, summer of my 8th grade year, I was doing dance and at HDA in Linden. And we had dance pictures coming up. And the woman that did our dance pictures was, I believe she's from here, Creative Images. Mm-hmm. She had done our dance pictures, and she had noticed that I had a wig on. And so they actually started like this whole fundraiser and got me like a really nice human hair wig. And then that was, I wore it all throughout freshman year. And then ever since freshman year, I've been wearing wigs.
Okay, cool. So do you have on a wig right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like we would never know it.
Yeah. Now, will the natural hair grow back, or is it something that
It grows back. It's not... It'll grow back and it'll get length, but I don't think it'll ever be as thick as like my hair actually used to be, just because of all the plucking and damage that I've done to my hair.
All right, awesome. Well, you just talk about it like you're just so like comfortable with it, and I know that it's taken you a while to get here, and I know you're really nervous about being here and talking about stuff today, but I feel like just hearing you talk, that somebody who struggles with something either just like this or similar is going to go, man, she can go on the podcast and just kind of tell whoever about it on YouTube or Spotify, that I can go out tomorrow and talk to somebody about it, that I need to tell I struggle with it.
You need to be extremely proud of yourself at this moment to be able to do this, to have the strength to be able to do this? Because I know you know, just hearing you talk about it now and knowing you, how hard it was on you during those times, and to be able to have the strength and the courage to come here and just talk about it like it's nothing. That says a lot about you as far as your growth, your strength, where you are in your life right now, your faith. So I want you to be very proud of that. You know, that's awesome.
So you had mentioned, like, when you got out of the hospital last year, was that illness related, or were you just sick with something else?
I actually got put in the hospital because of the condition that I have, where it got to a point where sometimes I would like bite on the ends of the hair that I was pulling off, and it had created like almost like a clog in my stomach, and I had to go and get it surgically removed.
Okay.
I had spent 11 days, I believe it was, in Vanderbilt Children's Hospital.
Okay, so I came by and saw you when you were in the hospital, but I just knew that you had like a tummy infection.
Yeah. So. There's I'm guessing a lot of pain and stuff that you had to deal with.
Yeah, so I'd actually, I'd been out of school for 3 or 4 days from like a fever of like 102. Like, it was, apparently my body doesn't take inflammation very well. And,
mine either, girl, it's okay.
And I had left school early one day, and I told my mom, I was like, man, like, I don't feel good. Like, and we just thought maybe it was the flu. You know, it was flu season. We thought, oh, it's the flu. You know, give her 2 days and she'll be fine. But I went to the doctor and all my tests had come back negative, and they were like, oh, well, it might just be too early for your test to come back. You know, come back and see us in a few days if you're not feeling better. I had gotten home, and I had the absolute, like, worst nauseating stomach pain, but I couldn't puke. Like, sitting there trying to even make yourself get sick, and I couldn't do it. And about 3 days later, I told my mom, I was like, we've got to go to the ER. And they thought my appendix had ruptured. They had done scans and stuff, and they eventually just took me to Vanderbilt, and that's whenever they were like, you've got to have a surgery and get this out of you quick.
So did you even realize that you were chewing on the ends of the hair? Like, I mean, or was it just such a habit you didn't really think much about it?
It was just a habit. It was kind of like the hand to mouth habit, like, but I mean, sometimes I would realize it, and when I realized it, I would make myself stop. But then there's like times when I don't realize I'm doing it, and I just go right at it.
Because your mind could be on something else at that moment. You're thinking about currently what you're dealing with, and it's that's on your mind. So your body's actually doing it, but your brain's focused on another issue.
Well, kudos to you and Mom for advocating for, hey, we need to seek something different here. Flu, a couple days later, we're not better. Like, kudos to y'all for recognizing that something could be going on, because that could have been probably life-threatening for you, right?
Yeah.
An infection like that.
Well, and that's, you know your body, so when something wrong. And of course, Mama being Mama Bear going, this, I'm not satisfied with just, we need to find out what's going on. So,
well, and we had noticed, a few months prior, like, I didn't have much of an appetite. Like, I would be so hungry, and then we would go get food, or Mama would make dinner, and then I'd eat 3 bites of my food and be like, man, I'm full. I can't eat anything. And that was from the clog, like my stomach being all clogged up. My stomach's already full. It doesn't want more food. So it was a long process to get in there, but when we did get it figured out, it was like, like just a relief. Like,
oh, sure.
Now we know what was going on the whole time, and,
And I hope that somebody listening to this, if they suffer, with the same thing, that they go through the same thing you do, that they won't let a fever or a stomach pain go without thinking, wait a minute, because that could save somebody's life.
Yeah.
You telling your story today.
Well, and that's also a good cue for parents, is make sure that you are, don't just shake stuff off when your kid, comes to you. And says, hey, something's wrong, to really be focused in on that and follow through
advocate,
with that.
Yeah.
Right.
So the whole point of the podcast is for us to learn about people who were being like Berl, and so that people can learn from that, want to be more like that. So who were some people for you who were being like Berl, who showed you kindness when you were going through all of these things and you were in school? Like, you can name drop. You don't have to name drop. You can just talk about whoever. It could be more than one person.
I would honestly probably say my friend Emma. We became really, really close my freshman year because we shared one big old friend group. And then our other two friends had moved away. So she was kind of like the only other friend that I, really had left. And she was like the one that it didn't matter what it was, she was going to be my friend. And then my mom and my aunt.
Aunt Christy.
Yeah.
And those of you y'all can't see this, but Aunt Christy's perched over the back here, and Mom is on FaceTime joining us today so that they can be here to support Ella. But
well, and I like what you said right there about Emma was going to be your friend no matter what, and that's the first book, when Berl meets Wade, and there's kids that won't play with him because of who he is, and Berl just says, I don't care, I just want to be your friend. So I mean then
gets ready to bring him to church, which Ella's brought her friend to church.
Absolutely. But I mean, I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, man, that's the very definition of being like Berl is saying, we just need to be friends. I just love you, and I don't care about whatever.
And me and Emma have definitely been through, a lot in our friendship. I mean, we've been friends since the end of 2020. We went through friend groups, we went through fights, we went through love, we went through not talking to each other for 3 months.
Sure.
And it's just knowing that, no matter what, no matter how long we go without talking, no matter how big the fight is, we'll always turn around and we'll always be each other's best friend. And I think that's really what helped me, help pull me out of the hole that I was in.
That's awesome.
And so she's a safe place for you to talk about what's going on or what you're struggling with.
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about it ending up on Snapchat or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever, right? So I love that. I love that you have that person, that she is your person, and that you have a person. Having a really cool aunt and a super great mom, that's all fine and good, but everybody needs that friend, that they can go to.
Yeah, it's hard, and I know it's been a long time since we were teenagers, but I still remember there's some things that you just need to be able to talk about, and it's harder to do with the adults, no matter how cool they are or how awesome they are, whatever, how much you love them. There's still, you just need that peer, that someone that's your best friend that you can actually talk to.
So just like we talk about people who were being like Berl, we also want to talk about people who were not being like Berl. And this isn't where we necessarily want to name drop, because we don't want to slander anybody, but just what are some things that you wish people had not done, when it comes to your situation?
A lot of it. I don't really want to say that I wish that they had not done the bullying, because I feel like the bullying is kind of what made me realize, okay, I'm better than this, But I really wish that they would have not done it in a way and thought about it well, I wonder what's going on inside of her head. How am I making her feel by doing this? Because it did bring me down a lot. And it made me feel almost kind of worthless in a way. There's no sense in going here because nobody here likes me, all because of a disorder that I can't really help. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the only thing that I wish they wouldn't have done was leaving me out because of it. I lost a lot of friends because of it, because I would go and tell my mom, and then my mom would go to the school and be like, okay, look, this isn't cool. We've got it. Yeah, we've got to do something about these kids bullying my kid. And then I would lose more and more friends because, I'm a snitch, and I went and told my mom, and then my mom talked to somebody else about it, and it was, I just wish people kind of would have saw it from my perspective and being like, well, you guys are hurting a little girl.
And you said something very profound. You said at the beginning of that, you said, well, it's not that you really wish the bullying didn't happen, because you were able to learn something from it. You were able to find a strength that you didn't know you had because of it. So it's neat that you took that approach instead of saying, man, I wish the bully didn't happen, but be able to say now at this point where you're at, to go, well, I'm kind of, the bullying happened. I made it through it. It showed me how strong I was. To be able to pull that silver lining from that's very grown that you were able to do that. That's really cool. And so it's, to just to be able to look back on that and say that, and kids nowadays, kids have always been kids, but it does seem like at this time they're just getting more and more selfish, because you said that you wish they would have thought of basically somebody other than themselves. They're looking for that gratification at that time of being able to make fun of somebody, to make themselves seem bigger than they are.
Well, and I also think that we're in a time of it's not an excuse by any means, but Ella's talking about those kids that bullied, and then they thought she was a snitch, but what was going on in their lives to make them so miserable and so hateful. Only God knows what they're seeing behind the scenes that even Ella may not know that they're going through. And we've talked about this before with a person in our life. You can't burn somebody else's candle out to make yours shine brighter. Right. And I feel like that's what a lot of kids these days do, is they're like, oh, well, I can bring this light to Ella, and I can, hurt her because I'm going to try to make my light shine brighter, because they're struggling with something. They're suffering with something so deep and so desperate. And she just happens to be the person that was the easier target, and they were the louder voice. Right. And that's incredibly unfortunate, all the way around. Right.
And Jesus teaches us to, your self-sacrifice, right? You serve others, you build others up, and it's kids don't learn that. Who knows what kind of home life that they come from.
Right.
So they don't, their environment shows them or teaches them that it's all about me, and self-gratification, and or to make yourself feel better, take it out on somebody else, or whatever the case is. What our society teaches now, and it's.
And you said home life, and it made me think, Ella, tell everybody. So you did have this anxiety disorder, but you had something that probably a lot of kids didn't have, and you had a mama and a daddy and a brother, and you guys were just one support each other family. All the aunts and uncles and cousins, and so you had this huge support system that a lot of kids probably didn't have, right? And I'm sure that made some jealous too. Did you experience some? Do you feel like some of that came out of jealousy? They picked on you for this, but you knew that they probably, their home life wasn't what yours was, and it was a jealousy type thing sometimes?
I really don't know, because the ones that picked on me, I didn't even really know them. I mean, I had only been at this school for a year and a half when I started getting picked on. So I didn't know the kids, so I really couldn't tell you if I thought it was out of jealousy or if I just thought it was, just to be mean.
Right.
Well, and to her point, if she didn't know them, they probably didn't know her.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Most of that probably did just come from a mean, literally just trying to make themselves look better. But I did want to ask you, how, just out of curiosity, how was it with little brother? What, you going through that, how did it affect him or y'all's relationship? Or
he was still quite a bit young. He is quite a bit younger than me, but right. I think when the bullying started, he was actually still in elementary school. But now, going home, I would be sad, and I would be talking to mom or somebody about it. Just had a rough day, but it never really affected me and him. I never went to baby brother to talk about it.
But if he saw somebody picking on you now, would he be ready to throw hands?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That's where I was kind of going. That's what I was thinking of is protective.
Yeah, baby brother's not so much baby brother anymore.
No,
exactly. He's taller than me now.
Yeah, that's why I was he's got to be ready to throw hands.
Well, and that was my thought is, what would he think when he would see you sad?
I think. With him being so young, I think he just thought, oh, sister's sad, but now anymore, whenever he sees me sad, he's very much like, okay, who did it? Yeah. Why are you sad? Yeah. Who made you sad?
All right. So, what words of wisdom would you want to tell folks that might be listening, either ways to cope, deal with a similar issue, just anything, any words of wisdom from Ella?
That's asking a lot. I don't have a whole lot of wisdom. Honestly, just, the disorders or the mental health status that you have, don't don't make it you, because you're not that, you know. You're not the hair pulling or the fingernail biting or the anxiety. You're none of it. You're a whole different person, and it's just the devil trying to come over you and take you over. And you're not what people call you. You know, you're a whole different person. You're a great person. Just don't let that define you. Don't let that, don't let that be, oh, well, that's Ella, and don't go by, oh, that's the girl that pulls her hair out. No, that's Ella.
Yeah, and we're all God's children, and we're all made unique and special. I love that, though. Don't let that define you, because it would be really hard not to hear somebody's mean words or a mental health diagnosis and not let that be your whole personality, right? And I think most people, 99% of people that meet you, they're not going to know that. And you're right, it doesn't define you. We know you as sweet, silly Ella, and we wouldn't put this label on you.
Sweet's pushing it, but what the funny thing is we do know you, and as much as we love you for being spunky and you and I aggravating each other and all that kind of stuff, you're absolutely right that the hair pulling stuff's not Ella. The Ella is the one that fires it back at me when I aggravate her about something. That's Ella, and so yeah, that's a good way to put that.
So how do you feel like God has worked in your situation? You can share a testimony of faith during this time if you want to.
I really think, he helped me by pulling better people into my life, more supportive people, putting me, back in a good mindset, really. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've still went through some rough groups of friends, and I've lost a lot of friends still, and you will, you'll continue to make friends and lose friends your whole life. But he surrounded me with good people that, supported me and helped me. And now Emma, if she even sees me going towards my head, she, she hits me. She's like, no, ma'am, we're not doing that. So, just surrounding me by really good people and putting me in a really good church too, going to Hope Church every Sunday. It helps, it helps being around a bunch of people, and that everybody in that church is struggling with something different. Right. So knowing that you're going somewhere where all your flaws fit in with everybody else, just, I feel like that's kind of how he helped me.
I love that when you said that Emma will hit you and say, no, ma'am, we're not doing this, and you kind of giggled about it. And I love that's your friendship. And it's not like she's like, oh my God, there she goes again. Or you're not like mad at her for stopping you. Like you can obviously tell that was something that you guys are comfortable with, and you giggled about it. And did it just kind of naturally be that way for you and her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, if I saw her biting her fingernails, I'd hit hers. She'd start hitting me if she saw me going towards my head or twirling my hair or anything.
So it is really one of those friendships, like you just feel like God placed this person in your life, right? Yeah. I love that.
Well, and you're just taking care of one another. Mm-hmm. And it's, you said something too that was really cool when you said being at a church with people that also have flaws. And so many churches will lose sight of that sometimes. As Christians will lose sight of that, is that we're still all sinful people. We still all have flaws. We're still not perfect. That's what we need Jesus for.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you added that to that, because it's we're all in this boat together, and that's what makes those friendships, when people realize that, is so much deeper. Those friendships are deeper and more meaningful when both of you realize, hey, you and I are both imperfect people. So we just need each other, and that's literally what Jesus wants us to do in these relationships, is to rely on each other.
One of the things that you had wrote down was you saw a light at the end of the tunnel when you're thinking about how God worked in your situation. And do you want to talk about that just a little bit? Like, what do you mean by light at the end of the tunnel?
I kind of mean it by when he brought those positive people into my life, and people that supported me and, wanted to help me and wanted to see me get better. Like, that made me feel better, knowing that there were people that wanted to see me do better.
And kind of drowned it out, some of the bullying and stuff. Okay, I got you. I see that. That's awesome. And then how do you feel like your situation has helped you to shape into the person that you are today?
It just really showed me, like, like I said earlier, that anxiety isn't what defines you. I don't introduce myself as, hello, my name's Ella and I have anxiety. Like I don't.
It made me think of the movie, the Inside Out movie. That's what they're labeled by.
Yes.
Yeah.
But, like, it really shaped me into the person that I am now, because it's like, no matter what people think of it, like, just don't listen to it, it doesn't matter what other people think. That's you. It's no different than, like, if Jim was sitting over there biting his fingernails right now, like, it's not you. It's, right. So just don't let people, like, I don't know, like, don't let people get to you. The mean people, the good, just don't let the words that they say get to you.
Has it helped you be able to, because you said you've lost friends, you've gained friends, has it helped you figure out what you need in a friend? Like,
yes.
help you define what is friendship? Has it definitely helped you on that?
It definitely has. And it's not just like I've lost friends because they've left. I've dropped people just being like, okay, you're not a good friend. And recently, I've dropped one of my really good friends just because, they weren't being a very good friend. And not just because of that, but, obviously other things that had happened, but just, it shows you who your friends are, You
feel like you're very, like, open, you're keyed into that now, like because you know what a good friend is. Do you think that it has made you be a better friend to people too? Like, seeing what you've been through, does it make you think twice about something that you might do or say or participate in or whatever? Do you really think about that now?
Yeah.
And what about too, like, does it make you want to be more like Berl? Like, when you see somebody hurting or sitting out or something like that, do you look at them and think, man, I know what it's like because I've been them, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes when we go through something, we learn. Like, I know personally, I would know that, man, I probably shouldn't have done that, and I'll never do that again, because next time I'm going to stop and talk to this person or reach out to them or whatever. Yeah. Makes you want to be more like Berl. And so what success or, anything do you want us to celebrate with you? What do you got going on in life that's good, that's going on good?
But before she answers that, though, you have to read what she put on the paper, because it was a very Ella thing.
Oh, no. Actually, she put on here about one of the things that she's really happy about doing is she got baptized in July of 22. So that was one of the things. And then the other thing that you're talking about is, where do you feel God leading you now? And he said, this is your very Ella thing, to go off and do great things somewhere.
Yeah, to go off and do great things somewhere. He's definitely leading me to go off and do better things. And actually what I'm wanting to do when I graduate high school is be a children's therapist or counselor, for anxiety and for stuff like that.
Awesome. I'm
very, very dug into psychology right now and sociology. I'm taking both of those courses in high school right now. And when I graduate, that's what I want to go to school for.
I love that. And so you'll have such an experience and a testimony to share with kids. So that's awesome. I love that you're taking something that could have been something that you let the world define you with, and you said, no, not today, Satan. And this is going to be me, and I'm going to use this for God's glory, and I'm going to help other kids through this. And I love that. And I'm not crying. See, I said that without crying. And she's not crying yet either. So we're so proud of you, and we're so glad that you got to come on here and talk today. And
back when you're going back to the being baptized, that was, I'm always proud when I see anybody get baptized. To them coming into the kingdom, is fantastic. But it's always special when it's somebody that you really care about. So being baptized, what did that moment mean for you when you were put under the water and brought back up?
I felt new. I felt like my eyes had opened finally. And I just felt like, oh, this is a fresh start. Back away from everything else that has happened. This is my fresh start.
Yeah, I like what you said. You said I felt new.
Yeah.
It's a new me. It's having a relationship with Jesus. It absolutely develops a new person. So that was cool.
Is there anything else you want to add to the podcast?
I don't think so.
Well, we are so glad to have you here. You are so precious, and we love you so much. And we thank you so much for sharing this. And tell us one more time how to pronounce it.
Trichotillomania.
Trichotillomania. So we hope that somebody that watches the podcast hears what you have to say, and that they take it and they go, you know what? I'm just going to be like Ella, and I'm just going to not let it define me. And I love that.
And I can't end this without saying that those kids that were mean to you and stuff, you're a lot more beautiful than they are.
Thank you.
So, all right, guys. Well, that'll do it for today's podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us, Miss Ella. Thank y'all for being here with us. We look forward to our next episode, which, of course, airs every other Wednesday. Remember that our Be Like Berl podcast is inspired by our book character, Berl Squeever. You can get his books by logging on to our website, berlsqueever.com. Can't talk today. And click the purchase link up top. Everyone stay safe, be like Berl, and God bless.